We've denied them their trophy so many times that I'm sure the organization is really salty and the fans really want to beat us.
TSM versus Cloud9, one of the longest standing rivalries in competitive League of Legends, period.
Last time we played C9 was in the semifinals. It was a really intense series.
Reverse sweep or bust for TSM.
We thought this was going to be easy win, like we'd go home early, celebrate, but obviously a team like TSM, they're never going to give up. Bjergsen as the team leader, he will never give up.
Game 3, we had like the scaling comp and we were even in the late game and it felt like we had it.
Cloud9 at match point with the Baron buff. It's up now to TSM to make a play.
Bjergsen basically 1v9 carried the whole game. Bjergsen's Akali was too strong for us.
He's keeping in very far behind.
And here comes your janitor, baby! It's Bjergsen on cleanup duty. TSM will find that fight!
He shouldn't be able to do that ever. And he somehow found an angle. So for me, it's like, yeah, we like threw that game.
I think in every great play, someone makes some kind of mistake, and it's about recognizing that and capitalizing on their mistake.
They made the reverse sweep happen!
We lost 2 more games right after that, and then we didn't go to finals. So that was really sad.
I don't think I felt that bad after I lost in a very long time, so obviously we want revenge what TSM did to us last split.
And you see like, oh, we're up against TSM, and then all of a sudden like everyone really wants to win, and it doesn't matter like what time of the split it is or how close to playoffs. It's just everyone's gonna be trying their hardest to just smash their lane opponent and carry the game.
Welcome back to the LCS Countdown, where we're narrowing in towards Game 1. But as you just saw in Game 3, we have a clash between Titans. And for the first time this split, TSM have elected to play Grig in both games in one weekend.
Yeah, and this is going up against Svenskeren, who many have as the best jungler in the league right now. So this feels like TSM beginning to indicate that it is Grig winning this position battle for the jungler spot. And if he has a good performance today versus Svenskeren, even if they don't win, but he looks like he held up very well against Svenskeren, I expect to see Grig going kind of the rest of the way for TSM.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, he has had, I think, better performances so far this split, but just even the fact that they were trying him out after, having a strong split with Acadian told me that they thought he could be better based on scrim results, based on, playing with him and talking to him. And it is seeming to kind of be leaning more that way, but he's gonna have a very tough challenge against Svenskeren, who is leading the league in almost every single jungle stat that matters.
That graphic alone, just the discrepancy between the two players, and Grig has performed well so far this summer split, as you mentioned. And yesterday we had the multiple pages of stat categories that Svenskeren leads and is first in. It's
gave up.
It's
just like he's winning everything. And I'm glad Sven's back in, because as great as Blabber was yesterday, it's like this is the premier matchup. So thank God both teams kind of feel like they're going all out to win this one.
Without a doubt. And after yesterday's game, the title of best mid laner in the LCS seems to be a little bit up in the air. Of course, we had elected for Crown in that kind of thought experiment that we ran, but now we've got 2 pros that are in the conversation preparing to square off in Niski and Bjergsen.
Yeah, exactly. You guys had Crown as the best performing mid laner in the first couple weeks of the LCS, and Niski and Bjergsen have both been incredibly good. Were really strong yesterday, and busting out the Yasuo for Niski.
I love that.
Doing so damn well with Blabber. That Gragas Yasuo combo looks really, really good.
And I mean, that's what's so great about the mid lane position right now is Bjergsen has this AD, TF, he's playing Zillion, you have a Yasuo, an Aatrox player, and Niski in the mid lane doing all these crazy things. And then there's also Crown as well, who, as much as he had not the best game yesterday, he has been fantastic. Froggen's been great. All of them are playing completely different things, and it was a pretty stacked position last split, the mid lanes, just generally. And right now, it feels like there's so many different people who could vie for that #1 spot.
Yeah, definitely the case. I mean, Crown and Jensen are going up against each other later today, another marquee matchup between 2 top mids. But it was interesting to me to see that both these guys were actually, a -5 CSD. And I think that is somewhat indicative of the fact that people are prioritizing roaming, are prioritizing, less lane dominance oftentimes for a lot of the mid laners. And it is kind of interesting to see that evolution. When you're playing Yasuo, you're not necessarily playing it to dominate the early levels. You're playing it for that side lane where they were so effective later on.
Yeah, you mentioned that first game of the day, Crown versus Jensen. Third game will be Niski versus Bjergsen. While we might not have the clearest of answers to the question of best mid laner in the LCS, these two matchups will definitely serve us in that conversation.
Right. I mean, it's a lot about head-to-head when it gets so close. It's like, well, yeah, they are all great for their team and kind of their main win conditions for their team, but this guy slammed that one in the 2 times that they played in the regular season. Towards the end of the year, that will matter a lot for voting those all-pro standings.
Yeah, so specifically when we look at the Niski versus Bjergsen matchup, though, how do we expect that one to play out? You kind of mentioned the idea of some CSD numbers for different mid laners being wildly different, indicating some preferring to roam over others. But, for example, that TF coming out for Bjergsen yesterday, maybe they're investing in him more as a win condition the way Optic has in Crown.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be really interesting. I think it is somewhat hard to predict because these are two very flexible teams. You know, on one hand, you have the ADTF where he is split pushing and the game is, you know, more perhaps about him. On the other hand, he played lots of Zilean and is totally happy to take that back role if he thinks it's better for the team composition.
Right, and in the meantime, you have Niski playing mostly Aurelia's, Yasuo's, Aatrox's, Silas. He plays like the scrappy side lane split push playmaking champions, which is very different from, you know, Bjergsen, who for the most part has been less interactive with his laner and more about setting up the entire map.
And that's why I think I'm a little bit excited about that TF pick and the potential for some 1v1s in the side lanes between those two players. If you want to have the best viewing experience, though, for any of the matchups in Game 3, make sure you're watching through player POVs. Sign up at riot.com/ProView for an upgraded viewing experience so you can track Greg versus Svenskeren or Niski versus Bjergsen, or both, click by click. As we go to break, here's another look at the battle for survival that rages on Summoner's Rift in Wild LCS.
Nowhere is the deadly balance between predator and prey more on display than in the lush jungles of the jungle. Ruin and Impact have been locked in a battle for supremacy, and at 10 minutes, CLG see an opportunity to catch Impact unaware. They close in. They don't yet know it, but they are walking into a trap. Their prey is not alone. Too late. Roaming up is a nearby Xmithy. He pounces over the wall as the rest of the pack close in. Within moments, they are quickly able to separate the herd. It is now a race for survival. Wiggly falls, but the hunt is far from over. The Liquid pack turn their sights squarely set on Ruin. The wolves close in and leave him no avenue of escape. Cornered, their prey fights for his life. And so the battle goes to the strong. And as ever, the cycle of life continues in the Wild LCS.
Back to the LCS Countdown, just about 10 minutes away from that first game of the day. Yesterday, we saw 3 separate player of the game performances on a certain mage. So I want to ask, what the Lux?
Specifically, support Lux. I'm going to move right past that horrible pun and talk about the shield. The W is the main reason I think you're seeing it. I would say it's the strongest shield in the entire game because it's a 150 rank 1 shield. And you can hit multiple people with it. It has a 0.6 AP ratio if you're adding the first part and the second part. And when there was that big shield change to all those shielding supports, they killed how long their durations were. Hers lasts 3 seconds and it refreshes on the incoming part. So for a champion like Lux, who throws that, has to wait the entire time for it to come back, it's effectively a 6-second shield that you get. So it's very effective throwing out during combat, even if you don't take damage instantly the way Lulu and Janna and all these other champions had their shields hurt.
Yeah, so high base values as well as a longer duration than most makes her shield very powerful. You also saw there at the end of the clip the usefulness of her Q, that binding, which can not only hit one but two people and is a one-point wonder.
Yeah, exactly. You only have to put 1 point into the Q. It's an extremely long route. The downside is it is fairly slow, but when people are engaging or it's somewhat telegraphed, if you can get picks out of fog or even have it as follow-up to another sort of CC, if there's some sort of engage, it can be incredibly powerful. And I think one of the things that also makes Lux so strong is it's not only just the shielding, it's how easily she's able to actually poke with her E to charge up Athenes, which is pretty much what everyone is rushing these days. And the added boost of healing that comes out on that first shield through can be enormous. I mean, we saw this yesterday, actually, with Core JJ saving Jensen. You know, he had a fully charged Athenes, lands Redemption. He goes from, like, nothing to full health.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty gross on top of the fact that Aftershock works well with her for landing those bindings. So when normally you're against this kind of pokey, shieldy Enchantress, you're like, well, all in her. And it's like, well, she has the best shield in the game. She procs Aftershock very easily. She does a lot of damage back. So your all-ins quickly get turned around like we saw in that replay. And on top of the fact that because it's 2 seconds rank 1, a lot of the times you don't need to put extra points into it like Morgana, who she's often compared to. Yeah, you have to put 5 points in to get that ridiculously long route where you just take this one and then you can max W in difficult lane matchups or E in the easy ones where you want pressure. So she has so much flexibility in her kit.
Yeah, I mean, even we've seen people say, okay, well, we can't all in her. Let's try to draft a poke lane. TL did this, actually. I believe it was actually against CLG, perhaps.
Yeah.
You know, and we just saw then the Lux just goes Guardian, right? Like, you can do this where then you just say, okay, well, you're not going to all in me. Then I'll take essentially this additional shield to help absorb your poke. And Lux just feels very well-rounded.
Yeah, very strong champion. You already mentioned we've seen her in support and in mid, so a flex pick on top of all of that. We do know that in the upcoming patches, other enchanters like Karma, for example, might be making their way into the meta, but it'll be very interesting to see how she, specifically Lux, kind of warps champion select around the bot lane. Since it is Father's Day, the players shared some kind words for their dads, and our cameras just happened to be there to catch it. Take a look.
Hey Dad, aka Craig DeMonte. I just want to say thank you and that I love you so much for supporting me in my career and letting me play video games all day long in high school.
Hey Ivan, happy Father's Day. Thanks for everything you've taught me so far, and I think you've been a great influence on my life.
Hey Dad, thanks for always supporting me. Thanks for always watching my games and supporting my growth throughout my entire career of being a professional player and moving away from home. And yeah, tack pa.
Hey Dad, happy Father's Day. I appreciate everything you've done for me and our family. So I wish you all the best and thank you.
First of all, happy Father's Day. I wanted to say that. I know you're probably watching my games, and since you play a lot of Sona, it's perfect for us to maybe play a dual game of Solitaire together.
Hey Dad, I know you're watching this, and I hope you enjoy my game. Happy Father's Day.
Hey Dad, I know I wasn't the greatest kid before. I was failing school, I was doing poorly in my life, I was about to be evicted, but here I am, making us money. I just want you to know to check your bank account on Father's Day because there'll be something good. Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Hey Dad, happy Father's Day. I can't wait for you to come to support me at Willis in Europe when I'll be in the finals.
이렇게 메시지 보내는 건 처음인데 뭔가 어색하네요. 그래도 아빠가 여태까지 저를 잘 키워주시고 앞으로도 잘 해주실 걸 알고 있기 때문에 저도 열심히 잘할게요. 사랑해요.
Hey Dad, I just want to say thanks for always supporting me and everything that I've done. And I hope you have a happy Father's Day.
Hey Dad, I know I haven't been around for the past few years, and it's hard to reason for this kind of crazy esports career that I'm on right now, but thank you for always having my back. And I know that you've tried so hard throughout my entire life to try and be a loving father. So happy Father's Day. You deserve a super awesome gift for today, so love you so much.
Okay, so I've been telling my dad to get a health checkup for probably the past year and a half because he's over 50 now and has been for like a few years, and he keeps not going to get his health checkup. He always says he's busy because of work and things like that.
Hey Dad, thanks for coming to my games all the time and supporting me. Happy Father's Day.
Hey Dad, thanks for always supporting me and thanks for watching all my games. I think you're my biggest fan out there, so I really appreciate you and happy Father's Day.
And yeah, it's just a good idea to keep a checkup on your health, Dad. So please, go get it done. I'm shaming you on the LCS broadcast. Thanks, love you.
Since it is Father's Day, we're going to once again put our dad's prediction power to the test with predictions for our 5 games today. First up, though, put some faces to the fathers of our different analysts, and I guess, host here on the show today. And then we'll swap it right over to see who they're picking to win our matches today. The Optic Faith coming out of Crumbs and Azale's dad.
Did my dad not predict the last one?
No, he just is big
the
fan
LCS.
of LCS.
Everyone
We're
wins.
all winners.
Everyone wins in Game 5.
So
because
Canadian.
It's been a great day of
that's
games.
true. So he's already got one right.
He did also have the TSM prediction over C9 in that Game 3, as compared to everyone else picking C9. A couple more TL fans here. And 100 Thieves being called out for their first win of the split. Is that crazy?
Yep.
I think that might be crazy.
I know Flowers' mom is a huge 100 Thieves fan. I guess his dad is too.
I guess so. It runs in the family. All right, well, those are the dad's predictions. Let's see how they compare to yours. Crumbs still has this
I was about to say,
Optic Faith.
Yeah.
Which his father does align with.
Okay.
I feel like because he bought the stock, he's just doubling and tripling down on the Optic stock and not really willing to, bet against them.
Yeah. I know that the one difference here that I'm seeing between Mark and I at least is the CLG Golden Guardians, and I was kind of surprised that Mark is going there as well.
I thought you were going to not pick FlyQuest when we were talking about we think we have a difference or two. I thought for sure it was the fourth game.
No.
You don't trust FlyQuest at all.
No, I don't. I think FlyQuest have not been doing
struggling.
very well.
Yeah, absolutely. I did just receive a word that the reasoning on Game 5 from your father is that the power goes out midway through the game.
Oh,
so
see,
there
you go.
There is no winner. If he gets that right, I think we call it there. He wins for the whole season.
Well, I've got to
Security, be on lookout for that guy that was Azale's dad. He's just pull it.
Man the switch box. Yeah, make sure that nobody's
I've got to give him credit, though. That's a bold prediction. I thought it was bold with the CLG win. His prediction is much more bold.
It wasn't that he didn't do his homework. He actually did extra credit in a way. But yeah, let's look at that fifth game of the day. CLG versus Golden Guardians. Mark Z, Golden Guardians have obviously impressed throughout the first few weeks of the split, and you continue, or rather expect them to continue to show that dominance?
I think so. This was actually a really close one for me, too. I think both these teams have a style that is relatively similar. Two great control mage players for the most part in the mid lane, and they want to scale into late game. Two top laners who want kind of lane dominant champions to duke it out. And then bot lanes, this is where they differ for me, is this bot lane of Deathly and Ole is a lot more defensive, whereas I like when Stixxay and Biofrost are in control of the lane with the more aggressive picks like the Lux and Caitlyn. And so I think that's where they're going to run some trouble, exploiting Deathly and Ole.
Yeah, that's why I went with CLG. I think in all three of the wins for CLG, their bot lane has been critical. We had the Yuumi Sivir game, we had the Lux Caitlyn game, Zyra Khan yesterday, and I think that we have figured out you have to ban Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench should not be played by Ole, and you can get major advantages there. I think CLG is the team that can close it out.
Golden Guardians squeaked by through that Tahm Kench ban just yesterday, still snagged the win. We'll see if CLG, though, has the answer this time around. With that, we got to get out to Optic versus TL. So, gentlemen, take it away.